this something you learned? Were you born an entrepreneur?
You got to start small.
I have not allowed being a woman to hold me back.
Credibility is not just making money, it's about making sure that people trust what you're doing.
Law practice is not only about going to court, it's about advice.
It's very difficult to hire somebody who's not motivated and then make them motivated.
One of the things that I'm known for is integrity.
They have to see you as a person of integrity.
Hello and welcome to the Executive Lounge with me, Inshira Ado. This is your thought leadership show that brings you nuggets of insights from the lives of men and women who've, scaled the daunting heights of either starting their own business or managing businesses here at home at institutions around the world and touching lives. Today, my guest on the show is a man who, at age 16, had an encounter with a spiritual leader, and his life changed from then on. At age 35, he is an international trainer of mindfulness, yoga, meditation, and a whole lot more about how you can live a life that's stress-free, violence-free. And hopefully we can all have a society like that and be happy. Welcome to the show, Swami Purnachaitanya.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to meet you. In preparing to have the conversation with you, I noticed that you weren't always called Swami Purnachaitanya.
Correct.
Take us through the transition.
So I grew up in the Netherlands, born and brought up in Holland.
Okay.
I was a regular kid in the sense that you do your usual stuff. I had a bit of an interest also in the Eastern traditions, you can say. My mother has some roots in India, so even though she grew up in the Netherlands, a little bit, on some level it must be there in my DNA as well.
Yeah.
But then I was practicing different martial arts, Eastern martial arts like judo, taekwondo, aikido, wushu, kung fu. And there is an element of, you can say, spiritual practices. There is a little bit of mindfulness, meditation, the breathing techniques, but it's a small aspect. And I was looking for something authentic, you can say. I found that it sounds very mysterious, like you have this picture of like yogis in the mountains and with all this psychic abilities, but then the Western world, you grow up, you see all this other stuff. So I was keen to explore, learn a little bit more about these traditions. In school, we used to learn a little bit about all the religions in the world. So we learned about Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism. And there was something about the Eastern traditions that I found very practical in nature. I also studied a bit of philosophy. It was one of my subjects in high school. And a lot of the Western philosophy seemed a little more intellectual to me. Some of the Eastern traditions seemed a little more practical. So that spark was there. And then when I was 16, my mother actually came to know through one of her business relationships that a spiritual master was coming from India to Amsterdam.
And this was Sri Ravi Shankar.
Yes.
Okay.
And he said, he's a renowned spiritual humanitarian leader and enlightened master, and he's coming to Amsterdam, and one of the main halls that we have there where big events happen, he's going to have a public talk there, and there are going to be about 1,000 people. And when I heard this thing that a spiritual master from India, I thought, I want to see this, because you can read so many books, but it's concepts,
Yeah.
And I want to experience something. I'm not a person who will, it sounds nice, so then you just accept it like that. I wanted to find out for myself. So we never had a lot of money. We had to manage always, So she said, but if you want, we can manage. We'll buy the tickets and we'll go. So I said, yes, let's go. So me, my brother, and my mother, we went together. My parents were divorced, so I was living with my mom. And we went there, and I still remember that walking into this hall, there were all these chairs lined up. It was a big hall. And there was a stage, and there was just a simple, but classy looking, like a seat. They have put like a sofa with a white cloth on it, and there were a little bit of flowers around. And there's a few things that I still remember from that event, that talk, that really struck me, that stuck with me, you can say. And one of them was that some of the things he said really hit home. It wasn't very hi-fi philosophical, it was very practical, down-to-earth wisdom, you can say. But he spoke a little bit about some of the challenges that we face in today's world, and one of them, if you see conflict, for example, whether it is on a local level of violence in the street to conflicts between nations or ideologies. And he shared a beautiful analogy there. He said, as a human race, if our primary identity is the bigger one, where we say we are all part of this human race or part of this planet or this universe or whatever you want to say, and beyond that come our limited identities, where you say, okay, we are male and female maybe, or we belong to different countries or different religions or whatever it may be. He said when that primary identification is with, you can say, the bigger picture, no? the bigger identity.
That's right.
He said then there is no conflict. But he said when that shifts and when the primary identity, the strongest identification is with the limited, he said then it becomes a reason for conflict. And he gave the example of, for example, soccer teams, where Barcelona, Manchester United, I don't know about the Ghanaian favorites, but like, for example, those play together.
Well, here it's Accra Hearts of Oak and Kumasi Asante Kotoko. They're probably the
main
most
ones.
storied teams in
So
in
if
the
you see
country.
them, the players, they know each other. If you see national, sometimes international level, they even change the teams. One year they may be playing for one team,
And then another
they
year-
get bought, they play for the other team. So they know each other. They're friends. Before and after the match, they shake hands. But then if you see one team loses, the other one wins. I don't know how it is here, but in Europe, for example, sometimes there are these clashes between supporters where someone, like, if you know that, okay, Manchester has lost, then if you go to a pub as a Manchester supporter, you have to be careful, because people beat up each other. And why is that? Because they identify so strongly with that, okay, I'm a Manchester United supporter or a Barcelona supporter.
Whereas if they had identified that we're all one human race, which is the identity, the larger identity, then there would be no conflict.
Yeah, because if someone says Manchester is useless, the club doesn't mind much. But the supporter says, no, if you're saying that, you're indirectly saying that I'm useless and I'm not useless, so that ego comes up. And this is the same challenge which you see with countries, with religions. If you say Buddha is useless, Buddha doesn't mind. He's probably very happy somewhere. The same is Jesus won't mind, but the point is that if you're saying, no, but I'm a Buddhist, or I'm a Christian, or I'm a Hindu, or then indirectly you're saying that I am wrong or I am bad. I'm not bad. I'll show you, So this is just one of the points, but he said a few things there that really struck home. And I felt, this is practical. And at the same time, it's so relevant. And then he, at the end, conducted a short guided meditation.
Okay.
So I didn't have much of experience, like I said, just a little bit. Some mindfulness is there in martial arts, but proper meditation I had never experienced. And I was keen to learn a little bit more, but again, where do you go? You need a proper teacher for that. So that felt like maybe just 2-3 minutes. And when I looked at my watch, 25 minutes had passed, when he took us out of that meditation. So for me, that was you can say like a really revelation that, for the first time I had such a quiet mind that you don't even feel time passing and you feel so peaceful afterwards. I felt mind was very still, very quiet. You feel more fresh. So for me, that was like a sign that, okay, I have found a real master, someone who can really, who doesn't just talk about it, but who can give the experience. And then after that, they said, okay, those who would like to meet him, they have a chance. So he came down from the stage and there was a long line and people got to greet him, say hi, hello, or some people, they wanted to give him like a flower or something. And again, it kind of humbled me that I thought, this is someone who is such a prominent personality, if you see now also, like, he's addressed United Nations, World Economic Forum, worked with governments, all kinds of people call on him. But at the same time, he is so available even for some people who have just come for the program, where it may just be a few seconds, maybe half a minute, but someone who has really dedicated their lives to make a difference, who for him it may not be very comfortable. And I've traveled with him later on nowadays, as a full-time faculty, as a director with the Art of Living, as one of his close disciples, you can say. And if you see his schedule, it's inhuman. He gets up early morning, does a little bit of his personal meditation and all that. And then from early morning till late night, he's continuously meeting people. In between, he's on calls, emails, and then maybe 10, 11 o'clock, usually he will tell people, okay, now you go and rest. And few times I had a chance to still stay with him after that, when most people are sent out of his room or meeting room or whatever. And then you see that calls and video calls and things start coming in from the other side of the world. Like if he's in India, for example, from the United States, because their people have woken up, their day is starting, they want to check things with him, take his guidance, and then maybe he'll sleep at 1, 2 o'clock, and again, he'll wake up at 4 or 5, So to do that for 30, 40 years, and then traveling continuously, so it's like a continuous jet lag.
That's right.
Every country, every year, 40, 50, 60 countries. Us, it takes a few days to get a grip of things and, get back into your balance. But he does it continuously, different climates, different food. So to see that is physically possible, mentally possible, humanly possible, for me it was like you can say an inspiration where I thought, okay, maybe I won't be able to do that, but even if it is just 10, 20%, it's a whole different level than what I'm living at right now. So it was also like a bit of a challenge for myself that I said, I want to know my potential. No, if this is our potential, then what am I doing right now? I come home from school and later on from work, and you feel tired. You don't have the energy to. I had made a whole list of plans. I want to still do this, whether read a book or do this or exercise or learn something new. But then you come home, you feel tired, and you just end up watching TV, or just checking things on your phone. So I'm like, this is a whole different level. That energy level, that enthusiasm, and I've never seen him stressed, Imagine, most people come to him with problems because if everything is fine, who's going to trouble him, Like, even if you tell someone, even if you say like church, when do people go to church or when do they really remember God or mosque or whatever, is when you have a problem. Then people really go and sincerely pray, okay, God, please, you help me pass my exam or get me a promotion or get me something to eat. When everything is fine, it's okay. Nobody really remembers God that much,
So he receives all these people from different walks of life with different problems.
Yeah.
But somehow he's not, for the lack of a better expression, contaminated by the stress that they carry.
Exactly. So that was an eye-opener for me, that he can do all this thing and still be fresh, In the moment he's available for that person, even if it's a few seconds, he's totally there. And that's something even for you and me that's very difficult. You can focus on something for some time and then your mind drifts off, it wanders. So that kind of, maybe you can call it intensity, sincerity, that presence of mind was something for me that I was like, I would like to find out that how does this work? How is this possible? How much can I make it my own? And then I came to a point where when I started experiencing all these benefits, I said, this is something that I don't just want to make it my own. As much as possible, I want to share this with people, because I've seen what it does for me. I've seen what it can do for other people. And in the end, everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to feel loved. You want to feel free. You want to really be able to enjoy life. But this is rarely the case because we have neither learned, either at home nor at school, how to manage our mind, how to manage our emotions. And then what happens is we become dependent on our surroundings, on our company, on the situations where you say, if someone says this or if this happens, I feel bad, I have a bad day, or mind goes off, mood goes off, you get stressed or you feel sad or angry. So then we are not in control, and you see in a world which becomes more and more stressful that people may be physically comfortable. They may have a nice house, they may be well positioned in society, they may have a lovely family, a beautiful husband or wife, but when their mind is disturbed for whatever reason, it could be anything, then they're not able to enjoy it. You have the most wonderful food in front of you, but you can't really enjoy it. You may have the best company, but you can't really enjoy it.
Because your mind is all clouded with troubles.
It struck me that the quality of our life is directly connected with the quality of our state of mind. And I realized that when we are able to attend to that part, which we have not learned at home or at school, then what happens is in any situation, our experience can be very different. And it is not just on a, you can say, philosophical level that, okay, you can be happy all the time, but even practically, if you see that, like when we were talking, I gave the example, I realized that I've been studying for so many years, going to school, primary school, secondary school, high school, then university. And all these years you study for exams, you read so many books, you prepare like assignments and
assignments,
And I thought I have spent so much of my time studying, but half the time your mind is not really there because you're thinking about the things which you still want to do, the things that disturb you, what happened, what could happen. So you're not really effective there. And then I realized if someone had actually taught me how to manage this mind, the same thing which took me 3 hours, I could have done in 1 hour. And this started happening after I did some of these programs of the Art of Living. I started noticing that the same thing that used to take me 3-4 hours was done in 1 or 2 hours, which gave me so much more time, Then I realized when I started going for job interviews, there may be 10 people sitting with the same degree, so that's not going to cut it. So why will they choose you? It's not going to be your marks. It's not going to be how much you were able to mug up. It's going to be about you, your personality. Are you a nice person? Would they want to work with you? Will you be able to take a balanced decision in a stressful situation? Will you be able to manage different types of people? Will you be able to manage stress? And this is something that even companies, industries now, that's why more and more people, they're coming to us also, where they realize that if people are stressed, their performance goes down. They make more mistakes. And another very interesting thing is that when you're more stressed, you tend to cut off more from your environment. You don't feel so much connected, which is natural. If you don't feel good, you're not so worried about others because first you want to feel better, But then what happens is, if that belongingness goes down, you become less caring for people around you. You don't care so much for your company also. So even for a company, this is a big concern because you want people, if needed, to put that little extra bit. If they don't feel that, okay, this is my company, why will they really try to do a good job? Anyway, I'm getting paid. And in society, that is why we see that in many places, because life is speeding up, because people are more stressed, these human values start taking a back seat. It's not that it's gone because any child which is born has all these qualities. Children, they are caring, they share, they're so loving, they're so content, they're totally in the present moment. They are perfect yogis, you can say. But then what happens is when we become stressed, these things take a back seat. You're going to work.
So we kind of start developing new sets of values.
Not so much, but the thing is those values, they take a back seat. So someone falls down in front of you on the street, you will shout at them, can't you see where I'm walking? I'm already late for a meeting. Instead of naturally you would have picked them up and you say, okay, are you okay? Are you hurt? And we've seen this with our programs because this Art of Living Foundation is a global organization. It has started with that one person, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. And now it is a movement spread over about 160 countries with millions and millions of people who not only done these courses but have become volunteers, where they say, take out a little time in the weekend or sometime to make a difference. We have so many service projects because when they start feeling good about themselves, when they feel more happy, more contented, naturally that thought comes, that attention shifts from what about me to what can I do for other people. And we've seen with our programs, for example, in the prisons, we do prisoner rehabilitation programs as well, that so many of these individuals, most people are not bad people. Most of them, 60, maybe 70% are there because in the moment their emotions took over, they did something which they were not fully conscious of. They may have hit someone, they may have killed someone or done something else. And that brings with it also a kind of trauma because they were not fully in control because we have never learned how to manage our emotions. So they say, even if now I promise that I'll be a good person, but what is the guarantee this doesn't happen again? Because they were not in control, And you see that when we do these programs, a profound shift happens where I've personally had people tell me that, now I can take responsibility for what I did because now I know that I'm in control, that this will not happen again. And we've seen people who were considered hardcore terrorists even, And such a transformation happened where they realized that, they came back, you can say, to their human nature. And some of them now, after coming out of the prison also, they're doing amazing, social work. They're so committed.
So they've repurposed the energies that they have.
Yeah.
And the human values are now taking center stage and guiding everything that they do.
So it's beautiful, and all these things, it's like all together has not only initially inspired me, but continued to inspire me, where I said, I don't need much from myself. I'm happy, you can send me anywhere, I will enjoy, I'll do something useful. But instead of just having a 9-to-5 job, because I had a good job in the Netherlands, I said, no, I want to spend more of my time, not just that few hours in the weekend, to make a difference, to share this with people, because I found this is both a knowledge and practical techniques, as well as a platform which allows me to connect to all kinds of people. It's not limited to one country or one religion, or this is something which is so relevant. So I would like to spend my life to share this with people, and at least to whatever extent I can contribute to my master's vision of creating that violence-free, stress-free world, like so many others across the world. And it's beautiful to see what's happening.
Fantastic. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll understand more of what the art of living is. And curious to find out your life, if there's a marked difference in who you think you are before meeting Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, and your journey so far. And then we'll talk also about your time as a journalist. We'll be right back with more on the Executive Lounge. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Executive Lounge with me, Shirado, and my guest, Swami Purnachaitanya, who is the Director of International Training at Art of Living Foundation. I'm curious to find out, post your meeting of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar and your journey, how will you describe the Swami today and freak before?
So just so people know, like Freak Alexander was my name. Not that I was a freak, because in English it sounds like that.
That's right. But it's actually Dutch for Frederick, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that like Swami is a title. Basically, it means someone who has dedicated their life to serve the society. Okay. Who you can say like a monk, like that you say, okay, I don't need anything for myself. I'm not worried about having my own business or starting my own family, all those things. I just want to be maximum useful. So that is something that came along the years. It was not an immediate transition. But if I look back at my life now, for example, and how it was before, in some ways, of course, I'm the same person, but definitely I would say that earlier there was still some searching, that like what most of us have, that you're looking for something. Many times you don't know exactly what, but I came to a point where I realized that what I'm doing now is what I want to do, or what I'm supposed to do. Or so in a subtle way, it's like something settled down, and I think you can say that, because we're looking for something, because everything we do in some way or the other we do because we think that will give us that peace or that happiness, or that sense of freedom what we're looking for, like whether it is getting a nice job or whatever it may be. And I came to a point where I was so contented, I was really happy, where I said, okay, I don't have to do these things to become happy. I can do whatever I would like to do, and I can do it happily. So this beautiful shift happens where life changed from being a pursuit of happiness to becoming an expression of happiness, you can say. And it's interesting because, I have because you were asking, I have some of my old friends from back in the days. We went to high school together. Some of them even, I know them even before high school. And whenever I go to the Netherlands, I try to make it a point, at least once in like 1.5 years, I go once to visit family there. And I meet up with some of my old friends, and they see my updates on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that. And some of them, they have done one of the programs of the Art of Living, some may not. and they don't always understand why I've chosen a life like this, because I've worked in like proper interior tribal areas near the China border, Bhutan also, parts of India and all that, where there may not even be electricity. I stayed in a bamboo hut, eating that boiled leaves from the jungle and things like that. So it's not necessarily comfortable, and I'm not earning anything. So that they're saying, why did you choose a life like that? They don't always get it, but at the same time, at some point or the other, each one of them has shared with me that, that enthusiasm or that happiness or that peace that we see in you is something that we are still looking for. So that doesn't mean everybody has to live the way I'm living. Everybody has their own journey. But I feel very fortunate that I came to a point where you can say I really found my calling. You say, okay, yes, this is what I want to do. This is what I was made to do, you can say. So for me, that is a shift which happened where, and I definitely I contribute that to Sri Sri Ravi Shankar,
Right.
because he not only inspired me, but I gave me this practical tools and you can say this platform to be able to contribute like this, to serve, to meet so many people, to share this with people, and that is why, like, now I'm in Ghana. I never could have imagined a few years back, like 10, 15 years ago, I would have never thought I'll be traveling through Africa, or and I've traveled all over the world, met all kinds of people. I've conducted programs for everything from, like I said, prisoners or villagers to heads of state. So that is an amazing journey.
Right. Now, in that journey, you did work as a freelance journalist, and you held other jobs. Would you say that prior to discovering the potential you held and getting the guidance that you got, you have mastered? I mean, what was it like working as a journalist? A very stressful job, I must imagine.
Yeah, actually the thing is, what I realized is that, like, I love to write. So that was one thing that you can say pulled me into journalism initially, and it was one of the things I studied also. So in the Netherlands. So then during my studies already I started working as a journalist, and then after that also for some time. I didn't find it particularly stressful as such, in the sense that, see, if you see, anything can be stressful. And like you may be doing this job and for you it's fine. Another person in your shoes, for them it would be very stressful to be sitting here in front of a camera, maybe having to improvise. So, and I've seen this in all aspects of life when we talk, because people, they ask about how to manage like your work and your life, like your social life, and you have your family, you have your other obligations. And you see some people, they know how to wing it, they manage. They can, in the same 24 hours, they can do so many things. And for other people, even 20% of that becomes so stressful, And that is where I realized that, again, those skills that, okay, how do you manage your mind, your energy level, your emotions? How do you relate with your environment? How much do you feel at home? That makes all the difference. And I've seen this, like in our programs we conduct, we teach people these things. And you see, even like in companies, you see a drastic transformation, in schools also. Because stress, if you have to give a very simple definition, you can say is you have this much to do, this is your work, and you have only this much time or energy. That is stress. If your time and energy is more, there's no stress. You can easily manage.
That's interesting. Now, where would you say is the seat of a human's consciousness? Do we master our minds or we master our heart?
I would say that the whole journey is from head to heart. If you say that we are both, you are your feelings, at the same time we have an intellect, you have a discrimination, which is needed also. Small children, where the intellect is not yet so developed, their self-identity, their ego is not yet so developed, have many qualities of a yogi. You know, they feel at home wherever they go. You see a small child, you take them to a new place, they may not know you, they may not know your language, you may look so different from them. You know, it may be a small kid from China or from Europe or from anywhere, but if you see, they will feel connected to you. And a very small child, if you look into their eyes, you will notice that you keep looking, they won't look away. They won't feel uncomfortable because they're not conscious of a difference. They can keep looking because there's no judgment in the eyes of a child. And somewhere along the way, we lose some of that innocence, and because of our experiences and of course our education, upbringing, all that plays a part in that, we start feeling more self-conscious, more uncomfortable. Again, it differs. Some people it may be less, some people it may be more. But the whole journey is that after getting all this knowledge, because a small child doesn't have that intellect yet, no? So the heart is there, but the head is somewhat missing, you know, like they may not always know what is right or what is dangerous. So the whole skill is to bring both together, where you say, okay, yes, we have all this knowledge, you know about life, about the world, you know where you need to be careful, you know, you cannot just trust anybody, but at the same time, being able to not let that cloud or limit your ability to connect with people, to relate to people, and to feel at home wherever you go. And again, the best example that I have personally seen is Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, because I've seen him interact with literally all kinds of people, and he's gone into places like, you know, he went to Iraq a few times, even when the war was going on. He went to Sri Lanka to meet the rebels, the LTTE leadership there, through zones where even the army wouldn't go because these were battle zones, you know. And he's gone into prisons, and he's met all kinds of people. At the same time, you see, he's totally at home. He feels totally comfortable. And I don't know if you're aware, in Colombia for more than half a century there was a conflict between the FARC rebels and the government. And he was able to broker peace between them simply because he said, you know, let me see if I can do, you know, people came to him, they said, can you please do something? Because it was escalating to the point where the president also said, you know, if we cannot do something about it, we have to send in the army, you know. And he was able to meet some of the leadership in Cuba of these FARC rebels. And initially, you know, they're communists. And then there's this guy from India with white robes, with a beard, you know, a spiritual leader. So imagine, no, they must have been a little bit like, you know, now what is this, you know? So they were quite reluctant, but they agreed to meet him once because of his reputation. And then they felt so comfortable. And he said, you know, I am with you. You know, I understand where you're coming from. And I agree that something needs to be done, but I cannot stand with you if you go about this in a violent manner. So he said, let us see how can we go about, I'm not telling you to give up your values, to give up your goals, but can we do this in a non-violent manner? And they agreed to meet for another day. And after 3-4 days, they did some meditation together a little bit. He spoke about, you know, the principles of non-violence, and of course India has a history with Mahatma Gandhi, you know, which again inspired Martin Luther King and so many. And then you saw that after 4 or 5 days, they held a press conference where they said, you know, we are ready to pursue our ideologies, our means in a non-violent manner. And so the trust deficit which was there between the government and the rebels, he was able to fill that because both of them felt comfortable with him. They said, okay, he doesn't have a personal agenda, you know. And you see that all over the world, he himself and then on his behalf, like many of us, like his teachers, his trainers, our people, have been able to go to situations where this is required and mediate, bring people together, simply because people realize that they feel that sense of belongingness. There is an authentic caring where they say, okay, yes, then they're able to drop their guard, you can say. And the same is in our day-to-day relationships. You know? If you see this is the main skill, how can you, despite all the challenges and stress, still feel connected, still come together?
Earlier in our conversation, you mentioned that, you know, if you master the mind, you're able to reduce stress. You're able to get a lot more done and have time for other things. Like,
exactly.
And nowadays you hear work-life balance is a big deal now.
Yeah.
Everybody is stressed at work.
True.
And you get home, though your heart would like to spend time with family, you're too tired to do that.
Exactly.
Again, you talked about breathing. Now, we all breathe, right?
Thank God.
Yes.
Yeah.
And without that, we wouldn't be here. So how does one master their mind? What do you do to master your mind? And what kind of breathing do you have to do to be able to have that equanimity or the energy required to be able to pursue your dreams?
See, the beauty, and it's wonderful you mentioned this, because one of the things that really attracted me about the Art of Living programs also, that it is very practical and very experiential. You know? If you see, even you can go on YouTube, there are so many inspiring videos, there are so many motivators, life coaches, beautiful ideology, self-help books, you know, and we all know that it's important to spend time with your close ones. It's all about being happy, not getting caught up in the rat race, not getting stuck with all these small things. And at the same time, we don't really learn how to do it. You know? Like when we were talking in school also, the teacher tells the child, the student, focus, pay attention. The student wants to focus, wants to concentrate.
But there's all kinds of things happening.
How to do it? Yeah,
how do you do it?
If there is the weather is nice outside, you say, oh, I can go outside. Or there's the beautiful girl sitting in front, or someone behind you is poking you. Or, I mean, how can you concentrate? Some problem at home. So we've never learned how to do it. The teacher, even if you ask the teacher, okay, how should I concentrate? They just say, no, just do it. You feel upset, you're stressed, something has happened, something has disturbed you. And your friend tells you, just drop it. You know? Why do you keep worrying about it? Never mind, it's meaningless. You want to drop it, but how to do it? You know? So here we say, okay, we use the breath. So in our programs, one of the cornerstones is some practical breathing techniques. Now, why breathing? Like you said, everybody breathes.
That's right.
It's essential. But the thing is, even though the breath has been with us from the moment we were born, you're born, the first thing you do is you breathe in.
You breathe in.
And then you start crying, and then they know the child is healthy. You live your whole life, and at the end, the last thing is you breathe out. In between, our life is nothing but a, you can say, continuous process of breathing in and out, yet we have never really paid attention to it. And there are many secrets in the breath. One of them is that it is the link between our body and mind. So the mind, it's very difficult to control it on its own. If you say, I don't want to think about this incident, you end up thinking about it more.
Sure.
But you resist, persist. This is a law on the level of the mind. So directly managing the mind is very difficult. Not impossible, but very difficult and takes a lot of training. But with the breath, it becomes very easy because there is a connection. And that is why you see when your state of mind changes, when your emotions change, when your thought patterns change, the rhythm in the breath also changes. There is a corresponding rhythm. Like when someone is angry, what happens?
Yeah, they have
it's short and
fast,
shallow.
yeah.
This is the same anywhere in the world. If you find a tribe somewhere that has not been in touch with any civilization, they don't even have a language. But if the guy gets angry, this will happen. It's natural and it's fixed. So like that, different emotions have different breathing patterns, different rhythms in the breath. And when we learn how to harness the power of the breath, when we learn how to utilize the breath, it becomes a very easy tool to, in a matter of just minutes, sometimes even less, to change your state of mind, to change your emotions. And that doesn't only become a powerful tool to, you can say, okay, if you want to concentrate, or you had a heated discussion, you want to settle your mind, or you come home from work, you want to just create some space, like you said, that heart is there, but the mind is so heavy. So a simple breathing technique will increase your energy level, will give you that space inside also. And the clarity, the freedom, the peace of mind to really be with what you're doing. At the same time, it has so many physical benefits, because most of the health problems nowadays, 80-90% of the non-communicable diseases,
That's right.
are what they call psychosomatic in nature.
Yeah, they're rooted in stress.
Because of stress, yeah. And nowadays, for most people, it's not even so much a problem anymore, it's a fact. You say, okay, life is stressful. My work is very stressful. I'm a journalist, or I'm an engineer, or I'm a business guy. It's stressful. So we have kind of accepted that. So we don't even see it much as a problem anymore. So then even finding a solution is far away. But we have a practical tool to attend to that. And that is when you see that not only people's productivity goes up, their perception, observation, expression improves, their relationships improves, But even on a physical level, you see that your energy level increases, your immune system becomes stronger, your whole physiology undergoes a change where suddenly you realize that with the same amount of time, you can do so much more.
So in essence, we have a better chance at living a fuller life
Much
the
better.
less stressed we are.
Exactly.
But the trick is finding out how to master your mind so
Yeah.
you beat stress.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. We're taking our final break, and when we come back, we'll bring you more from my guest, Swami Purnachaitanya. Welcome back to the Executive Lounge with me, Shira Ado. My guest today is a life coach, a teacher in charge of international affairs at the Art of Living Foundation in the person of Swami Purnachaitanya. And learned a lot about mindfulness, and there's a whole lot more for us to learn. I don't think this will be the last time we're talking. I could talk to you the whole day and ask lots of questions. But in the short time that we have, I'd like to explore a couple of things. When you talk about mindfulness, you talk about meditation, breathing, essentially understanding the body's rhythm and mastering it. In what areas of your work have you seen that is most difficult for people to do that? And what have they been able to do to transition to a point where they're now able to free up themselves, have more energy to work, and still balance the home and the social aspects of their life?
I think, see, the biggest challenge for anybody is that we lack those practical tools. Most people now, they're very much aware that I need to change something, you know. Many people, they say, okay, no, maybe something will change. They keep doing the same thing, but you know, doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome is the classical definition of insanity, you know. So I'm not going to the point where I say people are insane, but the thing is, like, we need to realize, and many more people nowadays do, that if I want to change that quality of my life, you know, maybe my job, everything is nice, but when I come home, I don't have that peace or that space or that fulfillment or that quality time. That means I need to do something else. And we are looking for it everywhere, maybe in watching a nice movie, going for drinks with your friends, going into nature, holidays. But too many people spend most of their time looking forward to the weekend or to the holidays or even to retirement, hoping that then they will get the space to do what they love to do, or they get the time to feel happy and peaceful. So here we need to realize that we have to invest a little bit of time, and you need those practical tools. So that anyway we offer people. And the only thing what I usually do is I try to encourage people that, you know, because it doesn't take so much time. You take half an hour every day to do some of these breathing techniques, especially a technique called the Sudarshan Kriya. This is a rhythmic breathing technique that was developed by my master Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, which is proven very effective. A lot of research has also happened. It has so many benefits on the physical, mental, emotional level, where just taking out that 30 minutes every day, you get such a shift in your energy level, in your perception, observation, expression, your bandwidth, you can say, that even if it means you sleep half an hour less, it's worth it. And initially that may sometimes, you know, be challenging because people say, oh, I don't have time, but the thing is, we have to make time, you know. We don't say, I was so busy today, you know, I didn't get time to brush my teeth. No, we don't. We make time. The same way, even for you. See, sometimes you are so busy, you have so many recordings to do, or you have to do your research, but you will not say, you know, Swami, today I was so busy, I didn't get time to eat. You will make time to eat. So we spend a lot of time, or we make time for our, you can say, dental hygiene, all these things. We have to take out some time for mental hygiene, because however nice a person you may be, when you go out into the world, you're going to meet people that may be frustrated, angry, stressed out, and to some extent it's going to affect you. When you sit with your boss or your colleagues, if some people are not feeling good, it's going to affect you. Up to the point where you become so strong in, like you can say, you become so centered that your surroundings stop affecting you and you start affecting change on your surroundings. And I think this is where we see a second shift. The first shift is you going to a space where you're more peaceful, more productive, more happy and healthy. And the second level, because I've seen this with quite a few of our trainers also, I've seen it with myself, that you come to a point where you realize that your mind becomes so strong, your emotions become so balanced, your energy level becomes so solid, and you become so centered that even if you're amidst conflict, because we have worked in such places, you realize that it doesn't really shake you anymore. Rather, just by being in your presence, the surroundings start changing, where people say, and I've had this, where you go to a place maybe for a trauma relief workshop, or like say in a prison or someplace, where people come to you and they say, you know, just spending some time with you, I feel lighter, or I feel a little more happy or more peaceful. And that is where I think we need to realize that on a level which may be a little more subtle, so it may be not so much, sometimes it's unconscious, sometimes it's conscious, but on a deeper level, it is our vibrations, our presence that creates a big impact. And sometimes you may not be aware why you feel nicer. Like I say, you know, sitting with you, meeting you, I feel very nice, peaceful, I feel at home. Some people maybe that may not be the case. So usually we're not aware, but this makes a big difference in our relationships, in our dealings, and in the way that the world around us interacts with us. And this is something where, so like I said, the main challenge maybe for people is, one, they're looking for something but they've not yet found it. And then when you find it, it's okay, yes, you have these practical tools, you have the practical wisdom, or you have the techniques, then to give sufficient importance to that, where you realize that this is something which is essential. If I want to be healthy, if I want to be happy, it's not something that you say, I'll do it when I retire, because you waste all of your life running after so many things, while we miss out on the main thing that we're looking for. And that is when, like I said, no, when you realize that instead of your life being a pursuit of happiness, you can turn it into an expression of happiness.
Wonderful.
And that is an art. So maybe that is why we say the art of living. You know?
Okay, that's perfect. I mean, the final question as we wrap up would be, is the art of living something that transcends religion? So if I'm Christian or Muslim or Hindu, Buddhist, is there something that, is it a religion on its own, the techniques you teach?
No, definitely not. You can definitely say that it is spiritual, you can say. We have, like I said, the organization is spread all over the world. So we have our trainers, our people in places like Iran, Iraq, Middle East, we have them in South America. So they're local people. No, they may be Muslims, they may be Christians, they may be Buddhists, they may be Hindus, atheists, everybody is there. The beauty is, you can say spirituality is like the values. So once our founder, my master Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, when he got this question in a public forum, he beautifully explained. He said, you can see that it's like the banana, where religion, which is made up of three things. One are the symbols, one are the practices, and one are the values. So the symbols and the practices differ. The way we pray, the way we identify, so that the cultures are different, it is originated somewhere.
That's right.
But if you really look at the scriptures of different traditions, the human values are the same. So he said the values are the essence, because that is what they teach. Care, brotherhood, compassion, service, love. So he said it's like the fruit of the banana, and the practices, the customs, the symbols are like the peel. And what we see nowadays many times is that people have thrown away the banana and they're slapping each other with the peel, And that is why I think this is something which has been able to cut across barriers of you can say countries, cultures, religions, because everybody wants to be happy, everybody breathes, you know. And the interesting thing is, because you brought up this question, is that I've met quite a few people, like from Russia also, for example, who came up and they said, when someone asked them about this, because no, they come to India, for example, we have our international headquarters there.
Okay.
So we had an international conference, people from all over the world, and someone had come to interview and asked them about this, and they said, you know, these techniques have actually brought me closer to my religion, because when you become peaceful, and there were some nuns even, some old nuns were there, and they said, you know, we used to pray every day, but now with these breathing techniques, because the mind is more peaceful, the head has come closer to the heart. They said, I feel more connected with God. And I've heard people say this from different traditions. So I think, to wrap it up, like, it's a beautiful thing to see that in today's world, finally, people have started embracing wisdom from all over the world, because we have food from all over the world, clothes from all over the world, you know, music, movies. It's totally globalized. You know, you can get it anywhere, Coca-Cola. But to some extent, there was still some reluctance in some places where they said, no, wisdom, oh no, that is from the West, or that is from India, or that is from China. But now people are waking up and realizing that, you know, something which is practical and useful, you know, for everybody, that also we should make it our own. Otherwise, we miss out.
Yeah.
So we have come to a time where things like meditation, yoga, people have started realizing that this does not interfere with my faith in any way. It will make me more happy, more peaceful, and it can actually help people also to come closer to themselves and thus to God.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to share my 5 takeouts from this conversation. And for me, number 1 is that as you go about your life, you should look for opportunities that expose you to new things. Of course, Swami, as a 16-year-old, decided he would take the opportunity to go see Sri Ravi Shankar speak. And that's basically altered his course in life. And of course, you see how happy he is. And a man that just exudes peace. Number 2 is to see yourself as a container of good, and that in this lifetime you have to take all of that good and give it out. That is the essence of living, that you're able to give impact and touch lives positively. The third thing I'm taking away from this conversation is that whatever journey you're on, it's important to have a teacher, a mentor, somebody who has walked the walk, someone who can keep going with you and say, you know, it may be tough now, but take a few more steps and it will be okay. It's always good to have someone to give you a guide, someone who's gone ahead of you to help you make that journey a little bit more easier. Fourth thing I'm taking away from this is that the mind is a powerful tool. If you learn how to leverage it, the possibilities of your impact and your legacy as a person in this world become endless. The final thing is that our binding cord is humanity, and that we're all the same irrespective of our race, religion, cultures, nationality, or wherever we come from. The bottom line is that we're human, and if we can find it within us at the practice of compassion, of love, of understanding, of tolerance, we will achieve peace. Well, thank you very much, Swami Purnachaitanya. Right?
It was a pleasure.
It was.
Thank you so much for this wonderful interview.
Yeah, and like I said, this wouldn't be the last conversation. I'm going to have to find you and learn some more from you.
Look forward to it.
Great stuff. And to you, our friends, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we hope to come your way with the best minds on the Executive Lounge. And a great thanks to our friends at Villa Monticello as well as the crew for making this possible. Until the next edition, go forward, make rain, shalom.